Hey everyone! Like many young adults, I was gifted some furniture back in the day when I was a young adult by my mom. Specifically, she gave me a kitchen table. We had it at our old place, but there wasn't really that much room for it, and it ended up just becoming like a storage space. We would just throw crap on top of it and not even use it as a table. And ultimately it became the table that my husband kept his CNC machine on, and it was like that for a few years. But since we moved into this new place and there's plenty of room for a table and an actual space for it, we've been using it as a table, which has been really nice. The only bad side is that when the CNC machine was on it, I guess there's bolts and stuff on the underside of the thing. It just ended up scratching the surface of our table really badly, so that kind of sucked. But it was still a good table. There's nothing really that much wrong with it, so why get rid of it? I decided that I was going to completely refinish the top of it and then restain and repaint the table, which was great because I could do that however I wanted and it could match the rest of our decor. So today I'm going to be walking you guys through how I refinished our dining room set. So let's get started. Here's the table. At our old place, we didn't have the removable leaf in the middle, so it was basically just a square table. We also only had 4 of the chairs. My mom and mother-in-law came and visited last month, and my mom brought the leaf and extra chairs with her since we now have the space for the expanded table. But anyway, that's why this middle part doesn't have any scratches in it. We took the table outside and I proceeded to sand the top of it to get all of the finish off. Only the top part though. I had other plans for the legs. Eventually, I took apart the table so that I could properly sand the edges where the leaf meets the rest of the table. So I had to be careful when I sanded the top because it was just a veneer over a piece of MDF. There is actually one corner right here where I went a little too heavy on the sanding and ended up eating right into the MDF, which sucks, but thankfully it's not a super huge spot. It could have been way worse, in the middle of the table or something. Initially, I intended to stain this thing outside, but there was a chance of rain in the evening, and this thing is MDF, so I didn't want to take any chances. We brought it inside and stuck it in the office for me to work on. So forgive me for this crappy lighting. Once safely inside, I started staining, following the normal instructions. Wipe on with the grain, let sit for a little bit, and then wipe off the excess. Unfortunately, my sanding was a little bit sloppy, and you could see how I sanded back and forth across the table. It's pretty easy to see on camera, but at the angle that I was at, I didn't notice it until I was almost completely done refinishing the top. So that kind of sucked, but not enough for me to want to completely refinish the table again. I feel like it stood out a lot more when I started staining it. Then I repeated that a few hours later to make it a tad darker. Once that was completely dry, which took longer for me because it's so dang humid where I live, I started painting on the first coat of polyurethane. I chose a semi-gloss finish. Again, following the instructions: stir, don't shake the can, try to brush on slowly to avoid bubbles in the surface, don't go over the same spot over and over again, etc. I let this dry completely, which again took forever because of the humidity, and then with a fine sandpaper, I lightly sanded the surface to knock down any bubbles or dust particles or anything that may have settled on the table. I wiped off the sanding dust and applied the final coat of poly. Well, final for now. The can said that 2 coats is fine, but after more research, I learned that for a tabletop, most people prefer to do more coats. I was just running low on time. We were going to be hosting an engagement party for our friends, and I wanted our table to be done by then. And if I did 4 or 5 coats of poly, it definitely would have not been ready by then. For me, I was doing a coat of poly and then waiting until the next day to do the next coat. So yeah, whenever I have the time, I'm probably going to go back and then add the extra layers later. I let that dry completely again before moving on to the next step. Seriously, this project took forever and required a lot of patience from me, which was tough. Now for the legs. The weather improved, so thankfully we were able to take it outside, which was great because I got spray paint for the rest of this. There was no way that I was going to be doing that inside this house. Because it would be easier, we condensed the table down into its square size for this, and then I just worked on the leaf later. I really did not feel like hand sanding the legs and all of the chairs, so I thought I would try out this product. It's like liquid sander that you wipe on with a rag, and it can get into all the nooks and crannies of the wood, which was freaking great. I bought 2 bottles of this because I assumed that I would need it for all of the chairs and the table, but I actually ended up using only half of one of the bottles. I applied this stuff according to the directions, I did 2 coats, and then I taped off the tabletop, which actually I should have done in the beginning, but totally forgot to, and then I spray painted the legs. I chose black in a satin finish, as usual, following the directions. I did 2 coats. And then I nervously removed the tape and plastic from the top of the table. I kept going back and forth between black or white, so I was kind of unsure about my choice of black until I took off the tape and the plastic. I'm really glad that I stuck with my gut feeling, my gut choice of black, because I feel like for the style of our kitchen and house, that this works a lot better. And then the next day, I took out all of the chairs and the leaf to paint. I popped in my headphones, turned on my favorite murder, and got to work. All of the chairs had protective covers on the legs, so I had to remove all of those. They had been there for years and years, so for some of them I actually needed to use a hammer and a little chisel thing to pop them off. I was going to replace them with felt pad things that you hammer into the ends, so I had to drill little pilot holes first in the legs, which I just got done right then since I had the chairs already flipped over and everything. Then I applied that liquid sanding stuff, 2 coats. And then I went through and methodically painted all of the chairs. At the end of this project, I ended up using 5 cans of spray paint. After they were all dry, I brought them inside and hammered the felt pads in. And then the table was done. And here it is. And here it is with some of the decor from the engagement party. So cute. I freaking love how this table turned out. I'm super happy with the choice of satin black for the legs and the chairs. It's pretty much exactly what I envisioned when I was thinking about refinishing this table. And like I said, I'm glad I listened to my gut with my color choices because I think it looks great. Eventually, I want to replace the chairs with a different style of chair, but for now, these ones will do. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I am in love with this table. I'm so happy with how it turned out. There are a few little things I guess I could have done better, like sanding and probably painting, But really, I think that's just nitpicking. If you guys liked this video, then please leave a like. And if you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. I post art videos every Tuesday and DIY videos every Thursday. Thank you to my patrons for helping me produce this video. If you are interested in becoming a patron or learning about what Patreon is, I'll leave a link to mine right up here and you can go check it out. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next week.